Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Quacking Pancakes Podcast, filmed here in Cornwall Studios in beautiful Atlanta, Georgia. I'm Evan Mullvain.
And I'm Kory Hoang. First thing we want to say is just thank you to everyone who watched the first episode. You know, we're still trying to get a lot of things figured out, but we appreciate all the overwhelming support and feedback we've gotten since it was released. You know, I think we got like 50 views in the first day.
Yeah, you guys are awesome. We're so grateful for all the views.
Right, and we had a lot of technical issues. We had some issues with, just processing the video. I think my computer was almost about to explode and I had to restart it a few times. That file was like 13 gigabytes big, and that was another huge issue to upload it as well. But we were able to get everything figured out. We got the podcasting hosting site figured out. And again, we just appreciate all of your support. So one thing that we did post on social media a few weeks ago is that we got work computers, and we were so excited to have these. They were really just nice, clean, futuristic, and by futuristic I mean from 2010, but I think both of them kind of worked out of the box for a little bit.
So initially we turned them on and they worked. We got our account set up and we were kind of rolling with it. And then I don't remember whose was the first to go, but they kind of one of them like turned off and was stuck in an infinite loop. So we're like, okay, maybe we need to switch out some hardware. So Kory and I both, I went home and kind of messed around with mine, and we both just couldn't. No matter what we did, we kind of switched out the RAM, switched out the hard drives. We're still having issues. I mean, it's been a couple day long process here.
Right, and I think at this point we're probably just gonna have to return them, not even exchange them. I don't even think I want to go through that again, but we'll probably get that figured out so we're not so mismatched. But I think at least one thing we could call out for this episode is that Evan finally got a real mic stand.
Yeah, we're good. We're rolling. I can move it way away, and so if things get a little crazy, we'll be good.
All right, so without further ado, let's get into it.
All right, so for today's episode, we are looking at your burger tier list that you have been working on for the last few years.
Right, and this has actually been a pretty highly requested topic, and a lot of people have been messaging me about it and asking what it is. So I figured that we just go ahead and do this video and break down, for the most part, the big key features that everyone's looking forward to. And this has kind of developed some notoriety over the years, and we're finally gonna just dive into it. And just Evan's interviewing me, and I think we're gonna just really understand my whole thought process throughout all of this.
It's going to be a very hard-hitting interview, no easy questions. We're going to get to the bottom of every single rating and why they are the way that they are. All right, so first, before we do that, we're going to get into some news. Most notably, for us anyways, it's that the Braves won the World Series.
Right, so we're so excited for that. That everyone's really happy right now, and they just had the parade yesterday, and I'm sure traffic was an absolute nightmare. I don't think either of us were able to go because we were probably busy working, or
I was probably working on the computer, trying to fix the computer.
and just trying to get some Quacking Pancakes work done. But, I'm so happy for this city to just finally have a real major league champion besides, Atlanta United. Shout out to them too. But it's good that we were able to just pull that off and kind of get the monkey off our back with how our major league teams perform.
Yeah, so hopefully we can continue with it again next year. Because, I hear, anyways, word on the street is they're going to be even better next year. We get a lot of our players back, and hopefully we can go for a two-peat.
All I'm really hoping for, and I'm sure they're going to do, is that we're able to bring back Freddie Freeman. So
exactly,
I think we're going to be able to do that. So transitioning into this new kind of segment we want to have moving forward is that we want to have a series of questions. So to lead that portion is that we're going to start with the Quacking Pancakes question of the week. You'll usually find that behind Evan on the whiteboard. So today's question is, what was your go-to Lunchable growing up?
And I know that before you even answer, that we want you to answer. This is kind of like a kind of a group effort thing. So we will give our answers to each other, and you guys let us know what your answer is too. But who should go first? You want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first.
So I was a big fan of the pizza, but here's the thing. not just any pizza, because there were a bunch of pizzas. We had like a bunch of different Lunchables. We had like the regular Lunchable, and then you had like the Lunchable Max. I don't know, they're like
it's
maxed
so
out
funny
or something.
because when I was thinking about this question, I'm like, oh, I really enjoyed the Lunchables Max, and that was only around for a few years, but I didn't know that'd be on the board for us to address.
No, it's like a tiered system. So you had like I would say like the elementary school was like just the straight up like flat pizza. You had that flat kind of.
You had the kind of like baby charcuterie board.
I don't know how you
stuff.
would describe that crust, but the maxed out, maybe, I don't remember what it was called. That was like a faux Chicago like semi deep dish pizza.
Mm-hmm.
But that one was my favorite. The one where you could like put stuff into it.
So were there only 2 tiers to it? Is just the regular Lunchables and the Max?
They probably have like new stuff these days.
Right.
But
okay. I definitely don't remember anything other than those 2. But what was your favorite regular Lunchable? Did you have a favorite regular?
Regular Lunchable. I want to say the pizza, but that's I can't say it again.
Right.
I might say, and this could be like really controversial. I kind of like the nachos. It came with the cheese and the salsa.
Yeah.
But it was fine. It was pretty good. What about you? What was your favorite?
Ooh. So the thing about that kind of cracker cold pizza thing in the regular tier is that I wasn't a big fan of that, and I wasn't a fan of that weird sauce. Like it wasn't really like
like
that
the pizza sauce.
Yeah, it wasn't that weird. It was weird in the sense that it wasn't like normal pizza sauce. It was kind of like ketchup. That was the consistency of it.
It did leave a little bit of a weird aftertaste.
Right. Yeah, so, and it was a little sour to it, but I think I could probably have to agree with you, or just like probably the turkey and crackers.
Yeah, turkey was good.
I was not a fan of the ham.
The ham was not good.
Yeah.
I remember I ate one. I was in like a deep sea fishing trip, and I ate the ham one like while I was on the boat, and I got seasick, so I just could never eat it ever again. The ham just kind of ruined it for me. But yeah.
And then for my Max, I gotta agree with you. It's so funny because in addition to taking that, if you took that to school, you were the coolest kid.
Oh yeah, it's like you got a Kool-Aid pack to put in your water. It's like, whoa.
Right. And then like you would just shake that up and get it everywhere. I remember one time I was in elementary school, and some lady, I don't think she was a teacher. She may have been like a parapro, but she came up to me because I was shaking my drink. She thought I was like starting like a riot or something. Yeah, but a life hack is that I wouldn't always take that to school because I don't think I was always allowed to have them, because it was like, why would we buy you this when we could just buy you like a more convenient lunch, like a sandwich or something. But I actually used to take those whenever I would get them, and I would microwave.
I was about to say, have you ever microwaved the pizza Lunchable before?
Yeah. Just the Max one.
Yeah. I think it would probably disintegrate if you would microwave the other smaller one.
Right, but yeah, those were good days.
Yeah, for sure.
So getting into the Atlanta traffic report, this is something that's very serious that we need to continue doing a lot of research on and making sure that the necessary adjustments are made over time. So I'm going to go ahead and ask Evan. Evan, how's the traffic looking this week?
Bad.
That's correct. Thank you, Evan. So something else that we wanted to incorporate moving forward are your fan questions that we decided to take today. Sorry for the late notice, but we got like maybe 5 or 6 in, and they were pretty good. Thank you for all those questions. So we have a few of them here that we wanted to answer, and that's how did the name come about? Should I take this or should?
No, you go for it. I really like this story, but you tell it better than I do.
Right. So we were in 7th grade, and just a little backstory. I had no idea who Evan is. Evan was a new old kid, I think. Yeah, a new old kid. Not an old new kid. He was a new old kid. So he had been born in the Midwest. He came here for, the first half of elementary school, I think.
Yep, so I knew some of the kids that you had been going to school with like in middle school. So it was weird. I already knew some of the people that you knew, but then I left and came back.
Right. So then eventually we just ended up sitting at the same lunch table, and all I could think about was, who is this kid with this big nose, and he looks like his parents buy his clothes for him, and he looks like his parents would be the parents from Stuart Little.
Yes, my parents did buy my clothes for me in 7th grade.
But I didn't know where that friendship would come about. But eventually, we did, because we sat at the lunch table together. We hung around with the same friends, and eventually we came together, and I think we got assigned to a project together. we both had various creative abilities that were different from each other, and we decided, hey, let's go ahead and draw like comics or something, or write stories, because he had a history of writing stories with many of the people we were friends with, but in elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually we were like, hey, let's start a production publishing company for our comics, so that way whenever we release our comics to our friends, we could scan them, multi-produce them, and share them with everyone, and they'll all have the same brand name attached to it.
Very ambitious for a couple of 12-year-olds.
Right. So we were like, what's the most ridiculous name we can think of that would stand out in everyone's minds, and they'll be like, oh, that's their project. And we were just like, oh, Velcro pancakes. That's the stupidest thing anyone can ever think of. And I just remember I was sitting in class one day drawing what the logo for that would look like, and it was like a pancake dangling from the ceiling. And then eventually Evan just talked to me.
Yeah, if I can interject here for a second.
Yeah.
The lawyer brain of mine, my 7th grade lawyer brain, was like, wait a minute. If we try and, copyright this name, we're going to have some issues down the line. We're going to run into some issues with the law, and it's going to be because of Velcro.
Yeah.
Because it's trademarked.
Yeah, Velcro is if anybody doesn't know this, Velcro is the name of the brand. It's not the name of the
like
product.
Band-Aid and Kleenex.
Right. But so I think the actual name is like hook, pole, like adhesives
tape,
or something.
Hook and something tape.
But so, it was back to the drawing board. We weren't really sure what we would do after that, but it's so funny that I think Evan just called me after school one day, probably not even to talk about that, but my ringer was on for whatever reason, and back then it was the duck ringtone. And the reason why it was the duck ringtone is because, for anybody who knows me, I have like the most outrageous, ridiculous sneeze in the world, and it just sounds like so crazy. And Evan would always say that it sounded like a duck, so whenever he would call me, my ringtone was the duck ringtone. And that's when it hit me. I'm like, that's it. Our company will be called Quacking Pancakes, because that's what we're kind of known for. These ridiculous sneezes, and then these ridiculous names, and these kind of ridiculous projects. So that's kind of how the name came about. And now that it's been almost 10 years later, we wanted to go back to our roots and that level of creativity we had in middle school, and just try to bring that back to life.
Yeah. So that was the name history. Moving on to our second question, we have, what's your favorite way to spend a Saturday? So this could go many ways.
I'll let you go ahead and start, since I took that last question.
Yeah, sure. So usually, big fan of the Wisconsin Badgers. So if they're ever playing on a Saturday, I'll usually watch that. Usually it's any time of the day. If they have a home game, it's a lot of fun seeing all that red in the crowd. But otherwise, I'll probably just hang out, watch some TV, play some video games. The new Call of Duty just came out, so I've been playing that with friends. But otherwise, I like to keep it real low key. Not a whole lot of energy going into a Saturday. Yeah. What about you?
Right. So we have this friend, and hopefully we'll be able to bring him on the podcast in future events. But something I've always asked him as a freelancer is like, do you feel like you have weekends? And then he would always tell me, no, every day is exactly the same to me, because he doesn't know when his work schedule is going to be. So, Saturday is great in the same way that I understand that there's a relaxation period to it, but this is also the time that I have all these creative ideas that I wouldn't be able to get done during the week. So I'm usually always working on the next creative project, whether it's for Quacking Pancakes or personally. But, Saturday is also the time that I know for a fact all my friends are usually free. So that's when I know that I can hang out with Evan, or that I can hang out with anybody else, or we can go to a sports game or something like that. In terms of football, just because I know Evan talked about the Badgers, like, I've never been a fan of college football. Like,
it's something. It definitely isn't for everybody. I get both sides of it. Like, I get why you could be really into it, or I could get why you're like, I don't really care. It's not really pro football. But yeah, for me, it's like my dad. My dad would always say that they're playing for something. Like when you get to pro football, it's like, okay, you made it. You're making a lot of money. You just kind of got to maintain. You don't really have to prove anything to anybody. Right. But in college, it's like, okay, you have all of these guys on the field on both sides that are trying their absolute hardest to get to pro football and make a lot of that money for the family. Not just for the money, but just to kind of like prove to themselves, like, hey, I trained my entire life to get to this point, And so it's like these guys are just playing their absolute hearts out, and it's it's really fun. It's really cool.
Right. There's no money in. Well, there is a money incentive
there is now. Yeah.
But yeah, I just can't get into it mainly because I was never into football growing up, and then my first introduction was the NFL, so that's all I really knew. But yeah, so our last question here is, who's your favorite actor / actress? And a lot of people, this is so obvious for me. You know what? Should I even say it, or Evan, do you want to tell me who my favorite actor is?
Your favorite, go for it. You tell me. Go. I don't know who it is.
Okay, well, my favorite actor is obviously, it might be a tie now at this point for many different reasons. But I think if I had to pick one, everyone knows my favorite actor is like Ryan Gosling. He's so good at every single thing he does, and people they always try to make him seem like he's just another Chris Evans or another Ryan Reynolds or whoever one of those people are. But he's so he puts everything into himself, into La La Land and Drive and all these other movies like First Man, and he's so good at method acting and playing a role just through his face, not always through his lines or his actions, but he's so good at conveying emotions through his face, and I think he's such a underrated A-list actor. But getting into my favorite actress, this might be super obvious as well because this just plays off Ryan Gosling, is that my favorite actress is Emma Stone, because in the same way, she's not one of those huge top-tier A-list actresses who has all these brilliant roles. She's usually more subdued, or she had these early beginnings with I think it was Easy A and Superbad, and then she was in 3 movies with Ryan Gosling, and again, she's kind of like a method actress. She throws herself into everything she does, and she just makes it her whole personality, and she just seems like she's great at everything she works hard at. So that's who my favorite actor-actress combo is, and that's so obvious to so many people. But what about you? Who's your favorite?
This was kind of a head scratcher. So if you know me, you know that I'm more of a show guy. I like my fair share of TV shows, but movies, I kind of have a difficult time not really getting into it, but just deciding. With the show, it's okay, you watch an episode or 2, you don't really have to devote yourself, you can move on. But the movie, it's once I start a movie, I feel like I kind of have to keep with it.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that the actor or actress has to be from movies specifically, but for my favorite actor, I wanted to go very generic and say Will Ferrell. I love Will Ferrell. I've never seen a movie that I didn't like, but that's probably because I haven't seen the movies that weren't the best. What was it, Watson and Holmes with...
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen that, and I heard it wasn't great. But anyways, Talladega Nights, love that movie, hilarious movie. Step Brothers.
So basically anything he's with John C. Reilly on.
Honestly, yeah, great duo, great movie. And then Elf, to kind of move from the John C. Reilly universe. Also great movie. Christmas is coming up, probably gonna have to watch that a couple times. But yeah, just even on Saturday Night Live, I mean, he was just an absolute treat.
Just to piggyback off you real quick, a lot of people just assume Will Ferrell, which he does 95% of the time, he plays these huge childlike man figures, and a lot of people could be turned off from that, or they kind of typecast him or anything. But I don't know if you've seen any of his serious movies, but he has
Blades of Glory a serious movie?
No.
Okay.
But he has some range to him. I think there's Stranger Than Fiction, and then I think this movie is called Everything Must Go, I think. He definitely has some range to him. And just while we're on that, I think Adam Sandler is in that same category. Adam Sandler is not in the same category as many of his other peers are, where they're only good at playing Netflix-level comedies. But, yeah, so who's your favorite actress then?
Favorite actress? Well, we kind of you had your little tag team with Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone for their some of their movies that we're in. I'm going to have to go with Zooey Deschanel, not just because she was an elf with Will Ferrell. She has some other great movies, namely The Happening. I love The Happening. I know people hate that movie, but The Happening is such a good movie to me. It's dark, but at the same time, it's you got your kids coming together, and it's in a apocalyptic kind of plants are trying to kill everybody world. So it's great. But also, Yes Man. Yes, man. It's a great movie. Jim Carrey plays a phenomenal lead, and then he finds the love of Zooey Deschanel. Just fantastic. And don't ask me about New Girl because I haven't seen it, and I'm sure it's great, but we'll get to that eventually. So those were our questions for this week. We'll have some more fresh new questions for you next week. But now I think it's the moment that you guys have all been waiting for.
Right.
Okay, so we are talking about your burger list,
Mm-hmm.
which is a very comprehensive list. And honestly, despite knowing you for so long and knowing about this list for so long, this is the first time I'm actually getting to see it in all of its glory. And I got to say, it's a lot more comprehensive than I thought.
Right. I don't really share this with many people because I've been told before that this is the most Georgia Tech thing someone's ever seen, or that only, a true nerd who just sits in his room all day would take the time to write out about. But this is truly, everyone knows me that I'm the burger guy. Everyone always asks me, hey, Kory, should I try this burger? Or should I try that burger? Or what is your opinion on this burger? And I always have something to say, and I'll always go into huge depth with it. So yeah, I finally just decided to sit down one day and just write out all my thoughts on all these burgers, and then, not just say, oh, here's the score I would give it on a scale of 1 to 10, just purely based off my thoughts. I was like, no, I'm actually going to grade all these things in a formula that, I can't just remember off the top of my head right now, but that's my thought process going into it. I'm like, okay, everyone knows me as a burger guy. Everyone knows I'm a burger critic. Now I'm going to actually grade these burgers to the best of my ability.
So let's kind of break this down into little bite size, pun intended,
Okay.
pieces, just so that the audience kind of gets an idea of what we're working with here.
Sure.
So our first kind of section of categories we have the name of the restaurant, obviously. We have the location where it's kind of originally from, where you'll find most of the restaurants. The style, you want to kind of give us what does that mean?
Right. So style is just what kind of burger category you would associate it with. Is it a fast food burger? Is this burger a part of a pub style restaurant?
Okay.
Is this restaurant a burger that you can get at a luxury restaurant that sells $85 steaks? So
no burger is safe. As long as you can go to a restaurant, order the burger, it is on this list.
that's correct.
Okay. Next we have gourmet. What does it mean to be gourmet?
So
in your
gourmet doesn't necessarily have to mean that, it's handcrafted, it's made by the finest artists and chefs or anything like that. My definition of gourmet, this may not be textbook correct, but gourmet to me just means, what kind of mystique does it have to it? Is there a cult following to it? So for example, In-N-Out, there's a huge mystique in following to In-N-Out because it only exists in kind of the West Coast states and Texas. But Shake Shack, it's based in New York. It's making its way out to all these different other metropolitan areas. So anything like that has a culture to it, a cultural value, and then it's worth defending over from all these different geographical regions. That's how I kind of define gourmet, is that these are burgers that people consider to be like works of art that they have to defend against other works of art.
Okay, so like a Wendy's burger, you would say is not a gourmet burger.
Right, and Wendy's could be, because it's, to my understanding, it's fresh and never frozen. Wendy's might be better than, the worst whataburger out there, but it doesn't have that same factor of, it's only available in these kind of certain locations, and that people necessarily have this idea of what Wendy's tastes like by now.
Okay. And lastly, we have availability. Care to explain a little bit more on that?
Yeah, availability is just the same thing I was talking about. Is it concentrated in one region? Is it a chain? Is it a standalone? So a lot of these restaurants you might never hear about because they're only located in one specific location. So that's where it comes from.
All right, so now let's get into the main course. Again, pun intended. We're going to get down into the ratings. So you pretty much went top down every single ingredient in a burger you are rating here.
Right.
So correct me if I'm wrong here. I see ratings for, and these all have their own 1 to 10 ratings.
Yes.
You have a rating for the bun of the burger.
Mm-hmm.
You have a rating for the patty.
Correct.
The cheese.
Cheese.
You have 2 toppings categories here. What can you want to explain
Sure.
those?
One is for freshness, and that's obviously pretty self-explanatory. Like, I don't like limp lettuce, and I'm sure most people can agree. But then, like, at the same time, Some people might like their Big Mac lettuce to be that kind of like, paper thin. It adds to the value of what a Big Mac represents. And then getting into toppings variety. This category is not rated as high as the other one in terms of overall weight, but it's just something nice to consider. Like, okay, like what kind of lettuce is this? What kind of cheese is this? What other types of toppings are they offering that's not available in many other restaurants? So,
okay, yeah. So this is something I just picked up on. So you said every item has a different weight to it. So which one has the highest weight? Would that be patty?
Right, yeah. So just going back to the formula I was talking about to just make sure it's not like, oh, here's all these categories and then they're just averaged into one final score. Because I would definitely say that the toppings variety does not have as much weight as the patty itself, right? So, just getting into that formula, the most weight I would say is in the patty, because if you don't have a good patty, like you can't just have a good burger in that sense. Like, at least in my opinion, many other people might just be like, an average patty could be saved by luxurious toppings and a $1 million bun, but I think the patty is what sells it.
It's a burger. You call it a burger because of the burger.
At this point, to me, like, this might sound so snobbish, but like all ground beef tastes exactly the same to me. I don't know if that's how you feel, but like,
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you have like these different percentages, like the fat and the lean kind of meat. I don't even know what they call it, but it's like it's ground beef.
Yeah, it's just ground beef at the end of the day. So what can you do to take ground beef to the next level? And I'm not talking about like, do you offer like super expensive Wagyu, or do you offer bison burgers, as good as those are? But what can you do to make, ground beef just take it to the next level?
Yeah. Is there higher probability that there will be hard pieces in Walmart ground beef? Sure. But it still tastes the same. All right. So our final set of categories here, we have kind of the meal as a whole, I would say.
Right.
So the first one we have is portions. Care to explain that one?
Right. Portions is obviously just the amount of food that you're going to get with the burger. It might also entail, the patty to bun ratio, but it's mainly just the amount of food that you're going to get with the order. There's a restaurant we're going to cover, and it's kind of like a local specialty, but Evan knows that this restaurant only gives you like 3 fries with your order. And I've known people who order like a separate set of fries just to supplement that.
It's actually kind of a good business model if you think about it, because it's a little bit cheaper, I would say, in terms of the meals. But then it's like you're hardly getting any fries. You might as well just order another basket.
And their fries are, pretty decent. Like
Very good.
You just want more of it. But
for sure.
Right.
And then we have the fries themselves.
Right. Fries are so important in many aspects of how good a burger will be. And when I say fries, I'm not just talking about, are their fries crispy or not? No, I'm talking about like, what is the shape of the fry, which we might not get that deep into it, but what is the shape? What is the texture of it? What kind of seasoning do they use for their fries? For example, just to be out in the open, I'm very picky about how my potatoes are. I don't like tater tots if I can have fries, and right. Some restaurants that I think one of them on here, they don't even have fries. They just tater tots.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. So, and then last but not least, we have overall value.
And I would define value as, is this burger worth every dollar that I spent on it? And there is a well-known franchise on here that I think if they were able to adjust their value of the burger, it'd probably be my favorite burger that I would go to every single day over all the other restaurants out there. But it's just ridiculously expensive.
Great. So we'll get right into that. And finally, you have 2 scores here for all of your restaurants. You have the burger score and the overall score.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be analyzing those. As you can probably imagine, I'm sure the audience has a bunch of questions too.
Okay.
I have just an insane amount of questions. So before we get into the actual ratings for your patties, what inspired you to make this insanely intense list of burgers?
Right. So again, everyone always knows me as the burger guy. They always look to me as kind of the voice of reason when visiting a restaurant or even just cooking sometimes. Like, what should I put into my burger or what shouldn't I put into my burger? There's a lot of controversy out there on the internet between people I know and people I don't know. And again, like going back to the thing about the gourmet category, so many people are arguing about, West Coast versus East Coast, or Texas whataburger or anything like that. And so just because I feel like I'm very well experienced at this point, and because a lot of people have been asking me for my opinions, I wanted to finally document how I feel about every single burger place I've eaten at. And this is, to my knowledge, this is every single burger place I've eaten at that's not like a standalone at an airport or something like that.
So without giving any spoilers into the ratings, was there one restaurant in particular that made you think, okay, I should probably make a list for my favorite burgers?
Right. I think everyone knows what number one will be, and I really don't want to spoil it, but everyone already knows what it is who's watching this, and if not, I'm sure they have an idea of what it could be. I am willing to defend that restaurant to the end of the earth. And when we get to it, I'll tell you why. But that one, I hate when people on the internet are saying that this other franchise, who I don't hold as high in regards. I did at one point, but after just comparing both of them, when they compare that one is even comparable, or even when they say that a lower tier burger I have on my list that has another cultural significance and following behind it.
Okay, well,
right.
Well, we'll see if you can back up this this big talk here. But I am also curious. You're obviously you don't eat these one time. You eat a bunch of these restaurants that we'll be discussing. You eat them multiple times, right?
Right. Yeah. I've had a lot of these so many times that I'm so sure at what exactly they taste like. I don't think it's really fair, especially if these burgers don't have what I would describe as the original burger, and I would consider that to be lettuce, tomatoes sometimes, onions or whatever, maybe a special sauce or anything like that, and probably more than likely American cheese. If they don't have that and they're just more of a super flamboyant, extravagant, here's all these ingredients that are not openly available to you to pick up at the grocery store, then, I don't think it's really fair for me to try those burgers or burgers that are made from different kinds of meats or anything like that and say that that's fair to compete against something that, is known for just doing not necessarily the bare minimum, but the standard, I would say.
So because we frequent McDonald's, occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
So
I actually haven't had McDonald's in like 2 years or 3 years.
Really? Wow.
Right.
Okay. So let's say you did go back to McDonald's, and McDonald's can be a pretty hit or miss restaurant. So if let's say one time you get a Big Mac and it's like, it's not too good, but then you go. Let's say tomorrow you go and get your Big Mac and you're like, damn, that's a good Big Mac. I'm going to rate it a little bit higher than Ruby Tuesday. Would you do that, or would you keep that McDonald's a little bit lower?
Right. So without spoiling these scores, like I probably wouldn't change McDonald's over anything, because at this point I've had the Big Mac since I remember I was in first grade, and my mom took me to go have my very first Big Mac after school when I went back to first grade or whatever, and told all the kids, I'm like, I had my first Big Mac, and they were like, oh, how was it? Like, what was the experience like? And I'm like, it was amazing. So I've had Big Macs for almost 16, 17 years now.
So
and
you know.
I know exactly what it should taste like, and I know what its peak is like and what its absolute worst is like. So I have this idea of what a Big Mac should taste like. At the same time, there are burgers on here that I've tried the first time and loved it, and then the fourth time or whatever, I absolutely despised it because I just realized that it wasn't exactly what I imagined it to be.
Great. So I'm sure you guys are all super excited to get right into the nitty gritty. Let's get into the reviews. Okay, the moment we have all been waiting for. 56 burger restaurants ranked from bun, patty, cheese, toppings, freshness, toppings, variety, portions, fries, value. All of these ratings from the mind of Kory Hoang. Let's get into it, starting with the bottom.
Right. So I'm not sure I would even consider this to be a real burger, but it's enough for me to warrant that it deserves to be on this list, and we're going to start this list off with Crystal. So I understand the concept of sliders for like parties or other kind of events where people want finger foods or things like that, but the idea of a slider done at a fast food restaurant where they're probably all made in one go is very unappealing to me. And I'll tell you why. It's because a lot of times I've had Crystals, I'm sorry, I just called it crystals, but it's crystal. Just so anybody knows that out there. And I know this is for those same people who call Kroger Krogers, okay?
I've heard many people call it crystals and Krogers.
The thing about crystal is that it's always been kind of wet when they serve it. And the reason I think that is because I feel like it's almost microwaved. And, you know, I've never had White Castle. I've seen Harold and Kumar go to White Castle like 50 times, but the only experience I've had of White Castle is living that experience through Evan. And from what he tells me is that Crystal and White Castle are almost exactly the same, in the same way that White Castle and the frozen White Castle burgers you can get at the grocery store are exactly the same.
Yeah, I would think that any burger that you could buy in the frozen food section, and it's the same burger that they would serve to you in the restaurant, it's not that great. But the most glaring detail I see here in this chart,
oh boy,
is the cheese. So at first I thought these were ratings from 1 to 10. You gave the cheese a 0.25. Care to explain that one?
Right, because
might I add that toppings freshness is also a 0.25. The overall burger score is a 0.97 on a scale of 1 to 10.
It's because the cheese almost looks like it looks like it's painted on. It looks like they took a paintbrush and they were like, here's yellow, we'll paint the cheese on here.
I think I've gotten a crystal burger before and the cheese was hard. Oh.
And the topping freshness is because I think it's binging with Babish. The way that I've seen him try to recreate the scene where Harold and Kumar both eat 50 White Castle burgers, the way that they've made those burgers is that they'll take like 100 pounds of onions, throw them on the grill, and caramelize them until they're like almost nothing. And they're doing that with fresh onions. Imagine what they're doing inside Crystal and White Castle with these like frozen burgers. Like, it's kind of like a paste. There is no toppings freshness to it. And those pickles are so like limp and they have no texture to them. It's absolutely disgusting.
It's rough in Crystal Town. So
right.
Moving on to your second least favorite burger, and again, I completely agree with this one. There's going to be a little bit of disparity as we move up the list, but this one, I completely agree. You have Burger King at number 55.
Right, and all my colleagues from, just hanging out late nights or going to band practice, and we only have like 45 minutes of lunch before we have to get back to rehearsal. There was a Burger King that was right across the street of the high school we were rehearsing at, and everyone was like, hey, let's just go in there so we can have some downtime before we get back. Just because it's right across the street, we'll get in there real fast, and then we'll be good to go.
So if I could cut in real quick, there is
Sure.
a rating even lower than the Crystal Burger. You have toppings freshness at 0.15? Is that correct? Am I reading this correctly?
Right, because everything at Burger King is just so horribly executed. I don't think in my whole life I've ever had, and we're getting into real burger territories now. These are not sliders, but
we're 2 burgers in and we're already getting into real burger territory.
but the toppings just don't do it. Like the lettuce is like little paper shreddings, It's like, it's not great. But the reason why Burger King is so low is because, one, I don't think I've ever been inside a clean Burger King. And again, I've never had a very nicely done, executed Whopper. But also, my biggest thing, just getting into more serious territory, which you'll understand why a lot of these other burgers aren't rated as high. I can't do flame broiled burgers. Like,
I can't either.
Just the taste of it, like, it's not for me. I like, my patties seared on the grill.
Yep.
So
moving up the list, we have Chromatic Dragon, which I'm sure a lot of people have not heard of before. It's more of a local kind of restaurant. You care to explain that one a little bit?
Right. So I've only had Chromatic Dragon one time, but for most of these, there is only one restaurant, and you're having a burger from there, and I think they're known for their burgers. But if you're having, this standalone chain, this is what you can expect from the place. And again, we're doing all these burgers I've had before. So Chromatic Dragon, I think that's definitely more of an experience type thing. I when I made this list, I think I had Chromatic Dragon around the time, and it was enough for me to put it on here just so I had a memory of what it was like. But from my understanding, Chromatic Dragon is like what would you describe it on? It's like a restaurant where you can pick off board games off the shelf.
Yeah, so you pick up board games.
They have video games too.
You
right?
tell them, you're like, okay, what do you want to do? And you'll just say, oh, we like to play board game, we like to play card game, or no, we're kind of waiting for the video game. Most of the kids take up the video games, so they'll kind of be playing those. But then you sit at the table, and I would say that the drinks are probably the best part. They bring like alcoholic drinks.
Okay.
They're named after like video games and stuff. It's really cool. But look at that. We are into our first whole number for ratings. We have no decimals in terms of 0.25s or 0.1s. All of these are whole numbers here. So what we're going to do in the interest of time, just because we could talk about this for hours, we're going to skip around some of the more like, how would you say, like specific
places that, people have asked my opinion on, or, places that many people might not have gone to before. Again, those kind of gourmet categories, so I can kind of myth bust what a lot of people are hoping to hear about.
Right. So at number 52, we have Applebee's. So Applebee's, it's probably, like, in my opinion, one of the most like generic American restaurants that you can get. That's not like fast food.
Right. I think my biggest memory of Applebee's has nothing to do with me. I think my biggest memory of Applebee's is in Talladega Nights. They're like, let's go to Applebee's. Yep. But I haven't been to Applebee's since maybe 2014. And that's not necessarily because I absolutely despise Applebee's in the same way that I hate Burger King. But, I'm a big Chili's person. And Chili's to me has always just seemed like the much better version of Applebee's. Like, why would I ever go to Applebee's if I could just go to Chili's? So,
not eating good in the neighborhood here. Okay. Moving up a little bit, we have Red Robin. Yum. Or so we thought. Why is it so low on your list here?
Right. So I think the first time I ever had Red Robin, I was in Florida with my friend Adrian. I'm pretty sure this is the first time I had Red Robin. But, you see the commercials and they're like, they're always hyping the next special that they have, and again, this is a chain. I'm sure there's a lot of quality control issues depending where you're going or what kind of city you're in. We were in Florida. I'll just go ahead and say that, and it was inside a mall too. I'm pretty sure it was just not a great experience. But something about Red Robin, besides just the burger not being as good as I thought it would be, is that getting into fries again. Like, I don't know if the fries score. I'm not sure what it is here, but the fries just don't do it for me because they're steak fries. Again, like, the fries don't have to do with the burger, but in terms of the overall score, I could see that making an impact as to just why I didn't like the overall Red Robin experience.
This is one of the lowest rated. You have it at 3.15 out of 10.
Right, and that's just because, a lot of people, this is self-explanatory. In the same way that you have potato wedges, and potato wedges have their place in the world. Steak fries kind of don't have that crispiness factor. It's kind of like you're biting into a baked potato, but in a miniature factor. So that's just kind of my thoughts on steak fries and Red Robin right there.
Okay, so marketing department of Red Robin, you're doing great. Everything else needs a little work,
needs some work.
According to Kory. Okay, now this is one that we talked about on our previous podcast. We have Whataburger. What a burger.
Yeah, so, I think we briefly touched on it, and it was enough to get the message across. But now I can kind of get into the nitty-gritty of why I didn't like Whataburger. There's a lot of things that I think are actually done right with Whataburger. Is that the fact that they do have a signature burger, that they're not trying to hide behind all these various toppings or anything like that. They have that textbook definition of what you would assume a burger is, the American cheese, lettuce, tomato, onions, that kind of stuff. This is not a deal breaker, but Evan knows that I really don't like mustard. I always order it without mustard anyways, so I'm trying not to let that be a factor in my decision here. Whataburger is just not a well-executed burger. And again, Evan's always trying to say we just haven't found the right one yet, but we've been to at least one decent one, and it just didn't work out. The bun is toasted just lightly, not enough for my preference. But that diced lettuce, like, I don't get the concept of it.
Not at all.
The patty is just kind of sad. It's not, a nice, juicy, refreshing patty that I would say even like McDonald's has. Like, when you just bite into it, like, there's some magic there. It might not look the prettiest, it's kind of gray and everything, but just Whataburger just doesn't do it for me. And I've had it 3 times now, and I'm pretty sure that this is just what I can expect from it at this point.
I still have hope. Moving on up, we have 3 well-known fast food restaurants. We have Dairy Queen, McDonald's, and Hardee's. What are your thoughts on those 3?
Right, so getting into Dairy Queen, that's kind of where I see the next step up from Burger King. They do the flame broiled thing again, and I can't get behind it. But the past few times I have gone to Dairy Queen, it's kind of like in the same way that I described in the Chromatic Dragon. You're going there for so much more than just the burger aspect. The fries are kind of the same way as Burger King fries, I'm pretty sure. But, something about the blizzards, Save It All, or the fact that they do try a little bit harder with their presentation, or how they'll come flip it upside down in front of you. Moving on from Dairy Queen. McDonald's, there is such a special place in my heart for McDonald's, even though I haven't had it in like 3 years, maybe 2 years. And I'll tell you why I haven't had it in 2 years. It's because every time I've tried to go to a McDonald's, their line is always like 2 miles long for no reason. Like, there's no reason that the line should be that long. And I think it finally got to the point during quarantine when, of course, there's worker shortages and everything. But I'm pretty sure, like, my McDonald's that's, like, right down the street wasn't even open, like, 99% of the time that I've tried to go there, whether it's for lunch or whether it's for a midnight snack. So I just haven't had a Big Mac in, like, 3 years or whatever. And, Evans always said this, that a perfect Big Mac is almost like a perfect burger.
Yeah, this is the first one that I have to disagree with Kory on, because a perfect Big Mac might be, not for sure, but maybe one of my favorite burgers that you could possibly get, fast food wise. I mean, they're good, more gourmet burgers, but it's so easy to mess up a Big Mac.
It is.
You can get a stale bun. You can get too much Big Mac sauce. There's so much to go wrong. So,
in the same way that, like, I always describe Zaxby's as, very inconsistent. If you're going to go to Chick-fil-A, like, maybe 99 out of 100 times your order will taste exactly what you expect it to be like. Zaxby's, just to put that on a much smaller scale, 3 out of 5 times, 60%, like, that's probably the percentage that your food will actually taste good. McDonald's is probably, like, to me at least, like, kind of the opposite spectrum of Chick-fil-A. I think 25% of the time, that's the only time you're going to get the perfect Big Mac.
So, interestingly enough, this is one of your lowest in toppings variety. Is that because they don't sell tomatoes on their sandwiches?
I'm actually not a big fan of tomatoes. It's weird because when you're a kid, you don't like any vegetables, but when you grow up, you like vegetables. I like tomatoes in things like salads, or if they're going to be used as like cherry tomatoes and like various other toppings. But, I'm kind of glad McDonald's doesn't sell tomatoes, because I would be very afraid to see what McDonald's tomatoes looks like. No, actually they do sell tomatoes, just not on the Big Mac. But, right, just to put some context into this, when we're talking about these burger places and I'm describing my experience, I'm usually trying to go off what that signature burger is. So for Whataburger, it is what is their primary burger. Burger King, the Whopper, McDonald's, the Big Mac. So that's kind of what I'm basing all these on. And it's just not executed well 99% of the time. But when it is done right, I think McDonald's deserve to be a lot higher on this list. So I think we had Hardee's next, and, again, nothing about Hardee's, the thick burger is what it is. I would actually put Hardee's up at the closer towards the higher tier of the typical fast food chains you could go off of. But again, it has a lot of shortcomings, and I think there's just so many better burgers out there. I think there's like 40 burgers ahead of it. So, we have a lot more to cover, so we can go ahead and get into what's next.
Yeah, let's skip up a little bit here. A lot of these are some more localized or well-known restaurants. But another fast food restaurant we have is at number 38. We have Wendy's. This is actually one of the highest national, I think, fast food chains.
Right. So I have a lot of respect for what Wendy's does. Their fries, when they're, crispy and fresh, and the sea salt, like they're done so well. The nuggets are so great. That 4 for $4 combo is great. But let me tell you something about Wendy's Baconator, okay? You add like pickles and onions and maybe lettuce if you're into that, and I think you got like a pretty close, like perfect fast food burger. It's just, it does everything so right, and I can tell the difference when they say that their patties are fresh and not frozen. That's hugely apparent when you compare it to something like Burger King or anything like that. So
apparently squares are better than circles in terms of burgers here.
Right.
So now let's move into a more local restaurant here. If you ever visit the state of Georgia, pass through Atlanta, you have to have the Varsity.
What do you have? What do you have?
What do you have?
So I think the last time I had Varsity was when I transferred to Georgia Tech and Evan came to visit me while I was on campus. And, I've had a lot of fond memories of going with my dad to Falcons games, and he's always wanted to go get his chili cheeseburgers at Varsity. And, I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with the Varsity. It's not the best burger, it's not the worst burger, but it's kind of what you can expect for, here's this diner-style restaurant that's going to give you something really fast, really quick to eat, really easy to eat, really convenient. But there's just a lot of factors that kind of associate it with, obviously, it's the Varsity. It kind of reminds me of like high school level concessions food.
Yeah, I think it's one of those places, one of the few places, like one of the few fast food places where you know what you're gonna get. Like there's not a whole lot to go wrong with a Varsity burger. Okay, so moving up to number 26 here. We're about at the middle of the road for burgers, so not bad, not great, pretty average according to Kory here. We have Bites on Brampton, a local to Statesboro, Georgia, which is where we both went to college at one point in time.
Right. So Bites on Brampton is probably actually the first fast food restaurant, not fast food, but burgers that I've had down there. And it was very good in the fact that I haven't fully developed my taste palette yet, and a lot of these came after maybe 2017. But, the thing about Bites is that the patty itself is actually very good. The bun, I think, is toasted. Those fries, when they're done right, are really good. And then they have a special sauce that's kind of like Zach's sauce, but it's house-made. They call it their house sauce. And I think it might actually be better than Zach's sauce.
That house sauce is very good.
Yeah,
very,
in
very
my
good.
opinion. The problems with Bites on Brampton is that their patty does not always fit their buns. Like, the patty to bun ratio is like you're having like at least an inch around the edges of just bun, and there's nothing else in there.
I'm sure they would save a lot of money if they just downsized their bunnage.
Right. And then also just the fries. I know Evan can speak to this a little bit, but how many times have you just gotten empty like fry shells in there?
Sometimes they're empty, kind of like crunchy, just like
a lot of people
bits.
like those burnt bits, but
yeah.
It's just like, you wish you had a lot more fries when a lot of those pieces are getting thrown into your order.
Yep. All right. So actually right above that, we have at number 25, we have Freddy's.
Right. And, I'll go ahead and tackle Steak and Shake in this same way too. Freddy's and Steak and Shake are essentially the same patty to me. They're the quintessential smash burgers that when you smash it down on the grill at a very high temperature, those edges begin to caramelize and you have a lot of those burnt bits that are really, really good. The only difference between the two of those is price and variety. Freddy's, again, they only have like one burger, and what you're getting is what you get. Steak and Shake is kind of like the same concept as that, but Steak and Shake has all these different variety of toppings, and they'll bring in burgers, they'll take out burgers, and then they have like a jalapeno crunch burger with like French's fried onions and jalapenos and salsa.
I like the hats that they wear.
Right. And again, the fries are those shoestring fries, which I think fit in with that kind of diner vibe, that kind of, 50s style smash burger. But there's just, at the end of the day, when we're speaking about Freddy's, and Steak and Shake has its own appeal, but Freddy's alone doesn't really do it for me. And I know that's going to disappoint a lot of those Midwestern people who were so excited when it finally came here.
Yep. Moving on to number 23, Fuddruckers. Funny name. Don't mispronounce it.
Oh, so the thing about Fuddruckers is that Fuddruckers is always going to have a very, very special place in my heart. We used to have one right next to where we lived, and, going there for the first time, it blew my mind. Like, they have a toppings bar, which I don't think many burger places do that, right? And then in addition to that, they had a cheese sauce machine, and it wasn't like, the Quick Trip cheese or the racetrack cheese where you get your nachos and stuff. Like, this is like a cheese machine that's constantly like temperatured and kept warm and being churned, and it's amazing. Like, I loved the concept of just going to Fuddruckers and being able to build my own burger and, having the toppings that I order ahead of time, like the bacon or anything like that. And, that's one of my favorite memories. Unfortunately, I just don't think it lived up to where I'm moving right now in terms of just where my taste palette is. And unfortunately, it is kind of low, but I do appreciate the experience of, I think Family Guy did it where they were going to Fuddruckers and Peter was like, hey, I can get all these ridiculous things on my burger. And he's like, this has to be as, ridiculous as possible because this is Fuddruckers. So he's like throwing like, trash on his burger, and he's like, watch me eat this and everything. So that's kind of how I've always looked at Fuddruckers.
So moving on to number 20 here. This is one that I'm pretty familiar with. This is relatively new to Kory. We have Culver's. Now, before we get into this, I would like to clarify something, a little apology. In the past, I have said, and this is my first formal apology. I feel like I need a podium or something here to apologize. In the past, I have said that Culver's, it's like the McDonald's of the Midwest. That is not necessarily the case for everything. It tends to be like very like it shows up a lot in the Midwest. It's almost everywhere on every exit. It shows up. And so eventually it kind of turns into one of these things where it's just like, oh, it's just another fast food restaurant like McDonald's, which is true. But at the same time, when it came down here to Georgia, I felt like it had something to prove. Like it has to prove itself. Nobody knows what a Culver's is down here. So down here, the Culver's is very nice, very clean. Everybody's really nice. So what is your opinion on your number 20 burger, Culver's?
Right. So Culver's, Evan's always told me about butter burgers and how in Wisconsin, they throw butter in everything. And I think custard is made from them making the ice cream with butter, right? Or at least that's what I've seen in some documentaries, I believe, about the Midwest. But Culver's is a really good burger. 20 is such a disservice, but I should also note that Culver's is the last burger on this list whose rating begins with a 7. Everything else after that is under a score of 7. So Culver's is so good in the sense of they do the smash burger thing that Freddy's does, I think, but they do it so much better in the sense that you can tell that there's a lot of butter infused into it for all my fellow butter lovers out there. But at the same time, they have their shredded lettuce, they have their onions, they have their tomatoes and everything, but everything there, at least at the one that is right next to us, is so fresh. I don't know about you, but
never had a bad experience.
There's so much crunch to it. And again, I think this is you could kind of relate this to Wendy's as well. So this is such a trivial thing, but I think any burger place that puts mayo on their burger, similar to Wendy's, there's some sort of elegance to that.
I do love mayo on a burger, and it's something that I really wasn't exposed to until I think maybe like high school. I had the Wendy's, like the Dave's single double, whatever. And then I was like, wow, mayo on a burger is actually really good.
And you don't think it's going to take it to the next level, which it doesn't always do that, but it just adds another level of richness and depth to it.
For sure. So number 18, we have Shake Shack. Now, this is one that I think our ratings kind of changed maybe a little bit.
Right. So, I just did a California road trip a couple years ago. Going into my sophomore year of college, but we had been driving back from California, and I had been on In-N-Out for like a week, and by that time, I worshipped In-N-Out, and, I had to try all these other burger places across the drive back to Georgia, and the thing about Shake Shack is that I would say they're probably In-N-Out's biggest cultural competitor. When I first had it, I was mind blown. I'm like, wow, this is what a burger should taste like. In a different sense that they have their own special sauce. I think they do like one small leaf of lettuce with a couple slices of tomatoes and everything like that. And the potato bun is done so well. But, looking back at it now, when we finally found out where the Shake Shack was in Atlanta, I just couldn't get behind it. Like, it wasn't even the fact that, I've had it so many times. So I think the fact that I did have it so many times just made me realize that I'm not really there. There's nothing really special to it. And this is where I'm, I might sound like I'm contradicting myself a lot on minimalism, but Shake Shack really is just what it seems to be. It's like salt, pepper, ground beef, their special sauce, boom, that's it.
They removed one of my favorite burgers from the menu.
Right. There was a secret menu item a few years ago that I think they had to remove for the sake of allergies, but they allowed you at one point to not put peanut butter, but it was kind of like a peanut butter sauce that they would use in their milkshakes, and they would put that on the burger with bacon. And if you've never had bacon and peanut butter on a burger before, dude, you're missing out like hugely. Like, it's next level. If anything, if this wasn't a list about the most textbook level burgers that you can get, then yeah, I think that burger is probably one of the best I've ever had. It's just the fact that they don't make those anymore.
All right, we are getting pretty high up here on this list. Number 16. I really like this restaurant, but there are a few things that
there's so many, I would almost say, fatal flaws wrong with this one.
So number 16 is Five Guys.
Right. So I actually love Five Guys. I think I've told people before that I didn't, but just being able to have it a few times during quarantine, just because it's right there and that's the most luxurious burger place I could get at an accessible distance. I love Five Guys. Like, they do every single thing right. Like their patties are cooked to perfection. Their
So
cheese, like, they throw the cheese right on top of the patty as soon as it's being cooked, and they wrap it up in tinfoil, right? So everything is just so well done. The toppings are like ultra fresh. I would say, I'm pretty sure I did rate them on here, but Five Guys has my favorite fries of any fast food restaurant.
So just looking at these ratings here, you have everything very high here. You have the toppings freshness at 9.2. You have the portions a 10 and the fries a 10. What's going on here? Why is this only number 16?
Right, so all of those things, as good as they are, they don't necessarily play a factor in how good it is. At the end of the day, it is just American cheese that's melted down really well. The toppings freshness, toppings variety, those don't necessarily play a huge factor, but I would also argue that Five Guys doesn't necessarily have an endless amount of toppings. You know exactly what you're going to get. It's your standard lettuce, tomato, onions, that kind of thing. The downfall with Five Guys, and I'm not sure how hard this tanks the score because I haven't looked at the formula in a while, but I think the other day I tried to order it, and the burger alone, with 2 patties, bacon on it, the burger alone was at least like $11.50 before you add fries, which are like $6 now, and that's even without a drink. So after taxes, you might come down to like $20 before you even have a drink, and they don't even do meal combos.
That's 5 Wendy's 4 for 4s.
Right. So, a lot of things in that way, I think, just destroy the concept of what makes Five Guys accessible to people, because it's just not accessible.
Okay, so moving up right above Five Guys, we actually have a recommendation that I gave to Kory. I had this restaurant a while ago, so probably a couple of years ago at this point. And I was like, Kory, we have to try this. This is a really interesting restaurant, and I think you would like it. It is The Nook in Atlanta, Georgia.
Right. So The Nook is kind of like, would you say it's like a sports bar?
Yeah, it's just your run-of-the-mill sports bar kind of bar.
But on their menu, they're advertising like their award-winning burgers. And I can understand the hype behind that. So the burger I had here, just to veer off a little bit, was not a burger you can regularly get. I'm pretty sure, do they stuff it with mac and cheese, or
No,
how do they?
It's just right on top. They make their own mac and cheese, just boom, right on top. There you go.
Right. And again, I think the patty was really well done there. I'll be honest with you guys, I'm not the biggest proponent of mac and cheese unless it's like Thanksgiving style mac and cheese, you
Yep.
know, which I think this actually might be, which is why I enjoyed it so much. So, you know, the thing about the Nook, and this might play into the whole experience kind of things, the Nook doesn't have French fries. They have tater tots. And again, like just getting back into what I was saying, I'm not a big fan of tater tots, at least when they replace French fries. I like having options. Tater tots are at their best, and I think they do it at the Nook when they're served as like a vessel device to serve other foods in the same way like nachos or anything like that. So I think they're known for their tater tots as well.
You are getting tater tots, and you are going to like it. That should be their motto.
Right.
So the next restaurant is a restaurant I have never heard of before. I think on our trip to through California, maybe it was. Oh, you know, it was actually to a friend's house north of Atlanta that I saw it for the first time. It was Cheeseburger Bobby's. That was a new one for me.
Right. So Cheeseburger Bobby's is kind of what I always imagined Fuddruckers was when I was growing up. They do the exact same thing where they have a toppings bar, but I think the toppings is like if Fuddruckers and Five Guys kind of had a baby. Like that's how fresh the toppings are. And you know, the burger was all right, and the fact that it's presented to you very simply. Like here, you just order your burger the same way you do at Fuddruckers, and you get to dress it the way you like. So I think it's a concept that's done very, very well. There are just probably a lot better burgers that I had ranked ahead of it.
Yep. So we're getting real close to the top 10 here. This burger right here. This is one of my favorite burgers of all time. I've been going here forever. I love it so much. Kory, what do you think about Ted's Montana Grill?
Ted's Montana Grill is probably the epitome of what the luxurious fine dining burger should be like. Okay, and you know, I'll just be honest, like I don't think I've ever had a regular burger from here because Evan's always told me, he's like, you've got to try a bison burger, and I've never had a bison burger before I had Ted's Montana Grill. But you know, just to again veer off a little bit of what I think makes a good burger, I think this is a great burger because everything else about it is, it's fine dining. You're paying for what you're going to get. You're paying for service. You're paying for the quality of the ingredients. So yeah, bison does make it taste a lot better. But also, you know, besides the patty just being bison, I think it is just a regular cheeseburger, and they do that really well. The fries are like, I'm pretty sure they're hand cut per person, fried extremely well, you know, extremely crispy. And who doesn't love when they bring out those cups of like ketchup tea, you know?
Yep.
It's not like, did you want
Very
ketchup in a
fancy.
bottle or something?
Very fancy. The best way I could describe bison to you is, or to someone who's never had bison before, is you just take a regular patty, just like a beef patty, you bite into it, and it's like the most fresh, you know, there's so much flavor going into it. It's covering all your taste buds. It's just so fresh. It's like the freshest beef patty that you've ever had. I just love bison. Can't get enough of bison.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, moving on up to number 10, our top 10 burger. We have Grub Burger Bar.
Oh, so our friend Travis showed us this, or he showed me this place, and then I introduced it to Evan and then a lot of our other friends. I absolutely love Grub Burger Bar. They do the standard burger thing just right. They do, you know, all these different fancy burgers. Like, here's your barbecue with like the fried onion on it, and then like the bacon and the Coca-Cola barbecue sauce, as weird as that. No, it's Dr. Pepper barbecue sauce, as weird as that may sound. And then they do like, you know, a blue cheeseburger. They do everything super well. The thing I love about Grub Burger Bar is that you do have all these, you know, interesting combinations, and things can actually be packaged as like combos sometimes. And then they have like the spiked shakes, which are always nice on their own. But I think my favorite thing about Grub Burger Bar, besides, you know, the toppings and the toppings variety and the toppings freshness, is that their cheese fries might be the best cheese fries I've ever had. You know, I've never had Five Guys cheese fries because they don't have cheese fries. But if I could have a tier list of my favorite cheese fries, I think this is the number one, because they have those thin shoestring fries, with like the cheddar cheese on top and the freshly cut bacon, and then they have fresh peeled slices of jalapeno on it. Not like the chopped up kind, but like, you know, like the little peels of it. So that's amazing, and their own house made jalapeno ranch. So lots of love and respect to Grub Burger Bar. Please send me a sponsorship.
Yep, good grubbing at Grub Burger Bar. Moving on up to number 9, Blake's Whataburger. This was a new one for both of us within the last year, and look at that, it already made it to the top 10.
Right, so I'm hoping that this is one of those things that if we ever make it back to Albuquerque, if we ever make it back to New Mexico, this holds up at number 9 on my list, because there's another burger on here that actually fell out, I believe, out of the top 3 or something. But, Blake's Whataburger is, a lot of ways I would compare it to Culver's, just what the experience is like, but the Hatch chilies is what makes it unique. That's what puts it over the top, and because that's what Albuquerque's known for in those burgers, it's like they almost have them fresh and available at all times. It's just something different, like this was the most unique fast food type burger I've ever had, in the sense that, it's their version of a standard burger with all the regular toppings that you're knowing and expecting, just with a different twist on it, and you're getting all those different New Mexican influences. So Blake's Whataburger, lots of respect for what's going on there.
Very good, very good. So number 8, we have Farm Burger, another kind of local one. I'm not actually sure if it's a chain or if it's just a standalone one.
I'm not sure either, but I think we've had it twice in Decatur, and this is the one that I was referencing when talking about Blake's Whataburger. I think when I had Farm Burger, it was like number 2 or 3 on my list. I told all my friends that it was probably like the best burger I've ever had in Georgia, and for whatever reason, I'm not sure if it was just an off day or like maybe the patty was too greasy for the bun, it was just a huge mess and I wasn't having it. Maybe my fries were soggy or something, but that second time disappointed me so badly that it made me remember that first time, and I think I had kind of this existential crisis of, was it ever good to begin with, or what's going on there? So after that, I think I remember I went home, and the first thing I did was just change the grade, and it made me so mad that like it just fell down that far. So I hope, for all these other burger places that I rated high but only tried one time, that they can just hold that same standard.
Okay, so we're going to move on to number 6 here. We have Homage Brew Pub. This was one that we had for the first time together, actually.
And we only had it one time. But I remember whenever me and Evan would make our commute down to Statesboro, that's a long 3-hour drive. And it's not necessarily like there's a lot of traffic, but there's just nothing. One thing we would always see down I-75, though, is this giant billboard. Actually, several of them, I think. And it's always advertising the Homage Brew Pub, and I've never even heard what that is before. I don't even know what Homage is or anything like that, but the burger on there did look pretty good. And I've always told Evan when we're driving past Macon, I'm like, what's in Macon? We should head down. And Evan's like, we don't need to go to Macon.
There's a really nice shopping complex, but other than that, I really have not been around Macon. I'm sure it's a great town with great people, but usually just a drive-through kind of town.
Mm-hmm, right. So I think finally one day we just decided, let's try it, because I think it may have been the last time we were going to drive down to Statesboro, right? I think that may have been the occasion for at least for the school year. So we decided to try Homage Brew Pub before the semester ended, and I think that would have been my last semester anyways, and I wouldn't have a reason to go back. But we tried it, and one, they have like their own brewery, of course, and there's all these different local craft beers you can try, and they have their own organic sodas, which me and Evan have our own gripes with.
Yeah, so I got like a pink alcohol. It was like a unicorn something. It had a cool name and a cool color, so I got it, and it was actually really good.
Right. So just getting into the burger, this was hands down, ahead of the Nook, the most unique burger I've ever had. And if I'm remembering correctly, just off the top of my head, I think it had like fried apple slices on it. It had like, I'm not a big fan of mustard, but I think it had some sort of honey mustard Dijon sauce on it. And, all of this sounds so weird, probably like Gruyere cheese or Gouda or something like that. The combination of all 3 of these things were like so different and so unique. It was just that, what can you do to take this burger to the next level without just throwing random toppings on it, which these are kind of random, but they're just done so well. Someone put a lot of thought and love and care into this burger, and that's why I had it ranked so high.
For sure. Okay, so this is getting into my favorite burger in the state of Georgia. You have it ranked at number 4. We have Nat's Landing, a very great name, even better burgers.
Oh, right. Okay, so Nat's Landing is what everyone kind of associates Statesboro with. People who don't live in Statesboro, you know, if they go to UGA or Georgia Tech, they've always told me, they're like, oh, you transferred from Georgia Southern? I don't know much about Georgia Southern, but I have been to Nat's Landing. And, you know, Nat's Landing is, I don't know what they do, but that burger is seasoned so well. That's probably the best seasoned burger on here, just from seasoning alone. It's like a nice, thick, you know, pub style patty. The bun is like perfect. The bun to patty ratio is perfect. The toppings, they don't really have a burger menu. It's kind of like you build off your own thing, right? And you get all your own toppings. You can get like Chipotle mayo, I think.
That's what I get, yeah.
All those kind of things. The thing about, if I had to pick one thing I hate about Nat's Landing is, as I referenced earlier in the beginning of the podcast, is that they only give you like, and I hope they hear this, they only give you like 3 fries with your order.
So few French fries. Why?
They are so stingy with it. I think a few times me and Evan have been there that we had to order like a separate basket just to supplement that. And it's, you know, it's not that it's hugely inaffordable to do that, but it's just so inconvenient.
I love their French fries so much. They're not the standard, you know, take them out of the freezer. They're good. They're well seasoned. They're crispy, but they give you like 4 fries.
Right, and it's never fair. You know, there are so many restaurants that we go to, and I'll like, for example, if we go to a burrito restaurant, I'm always picking chips off of Evan's plate because he never finished them. If we go to a burger restaurant, I'm always picking fries off of Evan's plate because he never finishes them.
I never finish my sides unless it's at Nat's Landing
because they only give you 3 fries, and you're like, I wish I had more with this.
Yep. Okay. The top 3 best burgers, according to Kory. At number 3, we have Grindhouse Killer Burgers.
So the first time I ever had Grindhouse Killer Burgers is when I went to go visit a mentor of mine, Nickel, in the city. And we had stopped there, and I wasn't really sure what to expect. But again, you know, they have their own specialty signature burger. They have, I think, another black and blue kind of burger. And then they had their Western barbecue type burger with the onion ring and then the bacon and the barbecue sauce. And I'm not sure if it is. I think it is a Coca-Cola barbecue sauce. Maybe it's not, but it's amazing. That burger is, you know, I'm a big fan of the toasted bun. I'm not sure how well their bun is toasted here, but that is like the most wet burger I've ever had, right?
Love that burger. As I referenced in the last podcast, I love a wet burger. And that thing, I mean, it just drenched.
Oozes flavor, dude. Like it's never ending, and it's like so rich, but also so savory as well. It does everything right in terms of just being a Georgia, you know, order at the counter burger. But
fantastic.
I think that my issue there is, again, just getting back into fries. I would put their fries in my bottom tier. I think you have your smiley fries, if you even want to consider those fries. You have like your steak fries. I do not like crinkle cut fries. Like, I don't know what it is about them. I think it's the fact that, you know, there's the crispy ridges that I would just prefer, and then there's like those soft textures in the middle. Like, I would just prefer like the shoestring, where it's like very evenly contoured and, you know, it's very crispy. But besides that, yeah, that's definitely in the right spot, number 3.
Okay, so moving on, we only have 2 more spots to go. This one, I would say, is probably the most interesting restaurant that we have on this list. Kory, what do you know about The Vortex?
The Vortex has always had a huge mystique to me growing up, because I think my mom had been there a few times, and she's like, you want me to bring you something? And I think I remember, as just a little kid who she knew loved burgers, I'm like, no, I'm going to do it right, and I'm going to wait like 10 years or however long it is to go try it. And then I think at that point, they changed the age from 18 to 21.
Used to be 18. It was like, okay. I even remember being in high school, like, okay, that's cool. I can't wait. I'm going to go, when I turn 18, I'm going to go to the Vortex. And then, like, as soon as we were like 17, 18 years old, it's like, nope, 21. Can't go unless you're 21. They got bouncers standing at the door. It's crazy.
They card you.
Yep.
They try to make sure your card's not fake, and all you're trying to do is just get a burger. But like, yeah, again, you know, I think as much as they have their own simple burger, and I'm not sure if they have a sauce to it, but I love just how good that patty is. That might be the best. I think it is. Yeah, that patty is the best that I have on this list, and it's a 9.65 out of 10. That is the best patty that I have on this list, and they do everything right around that. That bun is toasted perfectly, and they have all these crazy combinations of burgers you can get. Unfortunately, I do wish they had a build your own option, but I'm sure, for the sake of speed, and it's always busy, it's super cramped. You have to get in and out to allow more people to get in there. A lot of people are just in there to drink as well. As good as their burgers are, man, that is such a good, my mouth is salivating right now just thinking about it, but that is my number one, what I would call, the pub type burger. The bigger patty, the bigger bun, it's served on a plate, you order it from a menu. That is the number one on there. But of course, there is the king.
So there is a phrase that you said when you were describing the vortex. You said it's very convenient because you can do something. You are in and out real fast, the vortex. But the number one burger, in and out.
Right. I am going to live the rest of my life knowing that this is the best burger I've ever had. It's never going to be outdone, okay? When you think of America and how, we don't have great eating habits here, it's because of this restaurant. When you look up...
I love it so much.
When you look up the dictionary and you find burgers in there, that's exactly what it should look like. That's exactly what it should taste like. That's the amount of care that should be made going into it. And, a lot of people are like, well, I didn't get it. I love my toppings with X amount of this or that on there. I'm like,
you're wrong.
That's not the point of it. This is supposed to be what your standard signature burger should taste like. This is what the Big Mac should taste like. This is what every other burger in America wishes it could taste like. This is what Shake Shack wish it could even compete against, okay? I would go to the grave saying that this is the best burger in the world, honestly.
It's so good.
Gordon Ramsay said he loves it. Anthony Bourdain, God rest his soul, says he loves it. But, it's that good. You take it into a fancy, luxurious hotel that you're traveling to, a million miles away from wherever you're living. And, the people at the front desk will be like, oh, that's an excellent choice. It's great. And I'll tell you why it's great, okay? Obviously, if this is number one and people are wondering what my favorite burger is of all time, I'm going to go the most in-depth about this one, okay? That patty is, especially when you get it animal style, they coat it in mustard, which people know I don't like mustard, so this is a big deal if I'm saying this is great. They'll coat it in mustard, and then they'll fry it on both sides. It doesn't have that really, staunch taste to it, right, Evan?
Did I say it's so good?
Right. It does a different level with the caramelization. It adds kind of like a barbecue element that you would associate with, some other southern states who use mustard-based sauces. But, that's the patty alone. They do the smash burger thing in addition to that. So there is all that caramelization. The bun is perfect. It's so soft on the inside, but they also toast it perfectly toasted. This burger, as wet as it is, that bun is not wet. That bun is super crunchy to make sure that it holds that together.
One more time for the people in the back. It's so good.
Just getting into the toppings now. I have this at a 10 for freshness. That lettuce, so much crunch, and that's shredded as well. They just do it right. That's exactly what it should be like. And I don't like tomatoes on a burger because they slide around so much. Again, really well done. Caramelized onions. Not many restaurants do that enough, right? I don't think they do. They just do here's a ring of a raw onion. And
who else does caramelized onions? Way down at the bottom.
Right, but no, this is the real, brown caramelized onions, not just something that, came out of a microwave. This is, done so well, and everything about it is great. But that animal style sauce, it's like Big Mac sauce on steroids. There's a little more tang to it. There's a little more depth to it. It's not as mayonnaise based or anything. I don't think it's a little stronger, has a little more kick to it.
I don't know how you describe it, but if more if you replaced a Big Mac the Big Mac sauce with animal style sauce, it would just like blow the doors off of everybody. But
Right.
it's
So just getting into the last couple pieces that we have here for categories, the portions, like it's not the biggest burger. The fries they give you, I think they come in one size, but you feel so good afterwards. Like not in the way that you feel sick, I don't think either, right? You feel like you're ready to take on the world after that. It's so amazing. Everything they give you is just the right size, and they know they're giving you the right size. You know, the fries, I will say, I wish they were a little more crispier. You know, I think they're a little limp sometimes. You know, I don't think they're always perfectly seasoned. But the fries, when you mix them with the animal style factor, that is something else that most people can't get at many other restaurants. It's not like you could go to McDonald's, at least to my knowledge, and just say, hey, I want a fries platter with, you know, Big Mac sauce smeared on top of it.
What?
Yeah, but they do that at In-N-Out, and then they put grilled onions on top. Like, it's so unique, so different. Don't even get me started on the Neapolitan milkshakes.
Neapolitan shakes, the cherry on top.
Again, another secret menu item, and people are like, oh, well, what are they trying to hide? You know, like, why don't they just be transparent about what they're ready to offer? You know, Shake Shack has just the peanut butter burger, but we're pretty upfront about what we have. And I'm like, no, that's what makes us feel like you're so cool. You're in a secret club, dude. Like, you know what the menu is. And like Evan was about to walk in there and just read off the menu. I'm like, no, I'm ordering it for you. Like, I got to get this right for you. So the last thing I want to touch on is just the value. Obviously, things are a little bit different now, but I just remember in like 2014, I think, maybe 2017 as well, you could go in there and get like a full combo for like less than $6. Even now, I think it'd be like $7.50 max. And correct me if I'm wrong, Evan, because I know you go to McDonald's a lot more than I do. The Big Mac is outrageously expensive now, right?
So my qualms with McDonald's and the Big Mac, and it's, you know, inflation, whatever. When we were in high school, it was $5.97. I remember exactly. 2016, it was $5.97 to get a Big Mac meal. And then every single year, it kept going higher and higher and higher. And it's $8+ now, maybe even $9, getting into $9 territory. It's
for what?
Crazy.
Exactly. So you can even go to California, and probably more than likely a Big Mac there will cost more than In-N-Out. And, you know, again, because it's so concentrated, I'll be honest with you, I don't know how you feel about this. I kind of don't want one in Georgia because I feel like it would ruin the mystique for it. Like, I'd probably go there so much that I'm a lot like, you know, people who live in LA. They're like, oh, In-N-Out is great, but I mean, like, it's In-N-Out.
Yeah,
you know?
as much as I would love to have one here, I would go there all the time. It would lose its, you know, appeal, and it just, we keep in California and you know, the other locations. But yeah, it's so good.
Okay, so, you know, like, we did skip a few things that I didn't think were necessarily necessary to comment on, but, you know, if the demand is high enough, I'll release this spreadsheet in its entirety. But yeah, I hope that gives you guys a deeper look into my mind of what it's like being a burger connoisseur and just going out of my way to try all these different burgers over the course of my lifetime. And I'm sure I'm going to try many, many more. And as much as, yeah, there is a nostalgia factor to In-N-Out, I'm 99% sure nothing will ever top In-N-Out for just a pure fast food burger.
So that's our podcast. We appreciate you watching, and we hope to catch you again next week.
Right. Thank you, guys. We'll see you again soon. See ya.